Hey friends, welcome back to another Wellness Wednesday. I had thought about doing my Wellness Wednesday on the swing today because I have not done a swing Wellness Wednesday in a while, but I have like a paper that I'm referring to and some things I want to show you, and that just didn't work with the swing. So I'm doing a forest Wellness Wednesday today. So August is almost over. September is just right around the corner. And I have been wanting to do some kind of a reset for September. I thought about doing it in August, but it just didn't come together. But September is going to be it. And this is something that I have kind of practiced for a lot of years, even like pre-keto years. Started with doing like Whole30, where usually usually it's in August, I would do a Whole30, and it was just kind of like the way that the Whole30 is designed and the way they talk about it is it's not supposed to be an all the time diet. It's an elimination diet. It's kind of a reset to, break cravings, kind of see where like maybe some problem foods are that you're not really realizing because you're having them every day. So it's kind of like you're normal, but when you cut them out, you can kind of see how much better you feel with them, or find out that they're not really actually a problem. So it's kind of just like a periodic reset. And kind of as you figure out your diet and figure out what foods are really helpful for you and what foods aren't, you don't have to do resets all the time. Like as you're first starting in your journey, like a lot of the journey is trying to figure all those things out. And then as you do figure those things out, you don't have to just go on a reset every other month. You can kind of have a lot longer in between. And so for me, I found that trying to do 1 month a year at least is really, really helpful. Even though I have figured out a lot of things about my diet, it's still really helpful just to kind of go back to all of the basics that your body does well with, and cut out some of the things that maybe your body just doesn't do well with at all, or they're things that are not like the top best things for your body, but they don't cause you so much trouble that you cut them out permanently so you have a little bit of them. And then I know for me, like with foods like that, where they're fine foods and they are good foods, but they do cause like little bits of a problem okay, so I'm describing dairy right now, basically. Like it's a great food. There's all kinds of benefits to it, including taste. And, I find that it's worth it for me to have dairy in my diet normally, but especially with dairy, it's really easy to increase the amount you have over time. Like little bits more creep in, I'm just gonna have a piece of cheese for a snack or whatever. And if you aren't really on top of it, or at least if I'm not really on top of it, like it can get to be too much. I kind of think of it as like weeding a garden. You like work really hard and you weed the garden and it looks beautiful, and you can't just expect that you're not going to have to weed the garden anymore. Like things, creep up, and you have to come out and continually tend the garden. And I kind of feel like that's the way it is with my diet. It's like I work really hard, on a reset or whatever, and I figure out, this way that my body feels healthy with, all these different foods. And then you kind of relax a little bit. I do, because social eating is an important thing to me, and just enjoying things with the family, just eating for pleasure, that's all important to me. And so I kind of relax a little bit on the just eating for nutrition, just eating for physically feeling my best. And so I find that since I do value that social aspect of food and the pleasure aspect of food, that I have to be intentional about periodically weeding my garden and, going back to a reset. And then, as time goes by, maybe the weeds start popping in again and we go back to a reset. And that kind of works as a really good rhythm for me. And August, September has always worked really well for me because it's kind of past all the excitement of the summer, all of the different vacations or, get-togethers, barbecues. You're kind of getting towards the end of that. You're getting to the back to school time where a lot more is just happening at home. But it's also enough before the holidays that you're not having to deal with like holiday meals. So it's always worked really well for me. So I am going to continue that this year. And so starting September 1st, I am going to do a reset. And for a couple of months, I've been trying to think of how I want to do a reset. I knew I wanted to do dairy free or at least reduced dairy because, like I said, that is one of the things where it doesn't give me enough trouble to cut it out 100% all of the time. But I do think it causes a little bit of trouble, and I do definitely think that it affects my appetite and it stimulates appetite. Not like to the degree that it's a huge problem, but I do know that when I cut out dairy, my appetite is just lower. So anyways, I wanted to cut out dairy for sure. And, there's all kinds of different resets out there like BBBE or going carnivore or different things like that. And I didn't feel like I wanted to go that strict. Like I said, after you do a lot of resets and a lot of challenges, you kind of learn the things that cause you trouble and the things that don't. And so it can be just unnecessary to cut out more than would be helpful for you. Just like there's no reason for me to make it more restrictive than it has to be. So what I did is I created my own reset based on like all the foods that I've had experience with and know kind of how they affect me. So I will go ahead and just read, my list of foods that I am going to be allowing or focusing on for this reset, and then like my notable exclusions. I mean, obviously there's a lot of exclusions that I don't even need to say because they're just not part of any of my regular diet. But I do want to make it clear that this is not something that I've designed for anyone else. This is not something that I'm trying to get anyone else to do. I just sat down and thought through the different foods in my diet, and I thought about how they make me feel and if they're like of the top nutritional value that I know make me feel my best, or if there are other ones kind of like dairy where I like them and I do include them in my regular diet, but I know that periodically cutting them out is helpful for me. So anyways, I have my handy dandy paper here. So on my reset, the foods that I am going to be focusing on and or allowing myself are meat, of course, poultry, fish, eggs. So all of the, basic healthy, like that's going to be the base. I'm going to try to, have a really meat-based, protein-focused month of September. Then beyond that, I am going to allow egg white bread. That's something that has never caused me issues like as far as appetite, stimulation, or anything like that. It actually really, really helps my appetite, and it's so protein heavy that for myself, I have found it to be a really helpful addition in any kind of a reset that I'm doing because it does control my appetite. So egg white bread, butter powder. Butter is going to be on my diet. It's down here. The very next one is on my list is butter. And so any of my breads that have butter powder or the frozen shredded butter, those are all fine for me. And so I'm going to include those. Next is animal fat, any kind of animal fat. Coconut oil. I don't find that I have any problem with coconut oil or coconut products. So I'm also including coconut milk and any coconut meat, which I don't really eat a lot of coconut meat itself. But I just put it on the list because it's one of those things where I don't really have an issue with it. And I think it's a super high fat, pretty healthy, low carb food. So I was like, I'll just put that on there. So basically any coconut products, avocado oil, totally fine. I didn't put olive oil on here, but that would be totally fine. It's just not a very big part of my diet normally, so I didn't think to put it on here. MCT oil, totally fine. I am also going to be including MCT oil powders and collagen powders, including the flavored versions. I'm not going sweet free on this challenge. I don't like stevia sweetened things it's not like a trigger for me. Sweet things are more of a trigger for me when they include other things like nuts and stuff like that. So that's something that I'm going to exclude, but I'll talk about the exclusions here in a minute. So I am including like flavored MCT oil powders and collagen powders like from Perfect Keto. And I've gone back and forth. They have like a peanut butter flavor that does have peanut flour in it. And even though I think I'm just going to exclude that just to keep it consistent, I'm just going to exclude the ones that have peanut in them. And same with the Equip protein powders. I am going to include Equip protein powders. They're beef protein powders. It's just super clean ingredients, and I find more benefit than negative as far as like appetite and all that. So, but they do have a peanut flavor as well, and that one I'm going to just go ahead and exclude because it has that peanut in it, and we'll just keep it consistent with no nuts, no peanuts. Then also Keto Chow Core, and the timing on this could not have been better, because one of the things that I was really bummed about with giving up dairy is that I'd have to give up most of the Keto Chow flavors because they have their whole line of so many flavors. I don't even know how many flavors they have. And they're all dairy based. And I've just been loving having Keto Chow as, you know, a convenience, just to make my life easier. Also enjoyment. It's one of those buffer foods like I talked about last week, the trigger foods and buffer foods video. It's a buffer food for me. It helps me actually stay on a healthier diet. And so I was really bummed about that. And of course they have the Keto Chow Core, and they've had the chocolate, just Keto Chow Core in chocolate for quite a few months now. And I was like, I just like the variety. Unbeknownst to me, they have been working behind the scenes on adding 2 more flavors to the Keto Chow Core line. And they actually are released today. Like the timing on this could not have been better. So I brought these to show you. See, and they even changed the packaging, which is so beautiful and so like sleek. I don't know. It just is so fun. Anyway, so they have added the vanilla cream and strawberry cream to the Keto Chow Core line, and they have both of these flavors available in stevia sweetened, which that's what these ones are. You see that little green leaf on the top? That means it's stevia sweetened, and then it says in really tiny little words down here with stevia. But they also have both of these flavors as unsweetened as well. So if you want to add your own sweetener, if you have one that really works well for you, you can totally do that as well. So I am just super excited that going into this challenge, I have now 3 flavors of Keto Chow that I can enjoy. And also like with the vanilla cream, I could make so many different flavors, like with extracts and like the Perfect Keto MCT oil powders. They have a lot of great flavors like salted caramel and things like that. I have so many flavor options now. And of course, with the chocolate, you can always do, you know, like chocolate mint with some extract or chocolate caramel or something like that. So anyways, I'm super excited. The timing could not have been better for me with the release of these. So as soon as my budget rolls over to September, I'm going to place a big order for both of these. And so I will have the chocolate, the strawberry cream, and the vanilla cream as options. And that's going to just make this challenge so much easier. When I do these kind of challenges where I'm really trying to focus on real food and like meat and veggies, I haven't even finished my list yet, but veggies is on there. It's a lot to cook all of those things from scratch every single meal. So to be able to throw in a shake that's super high quality and has like the beef protein in it, that, you know, aligns with all of the things that I'm wanting to, like cut out over the month, like, you know, dairy free and all of that. It's just going to make it so much easier. And I am not about like having it be perfect. Like I'm not going clean carnivore. I'm not doing only grass-fed meat. I'm not cutting out every single plant food that possibly ever existed. I am trying to find something that cuts out the most problematic things for me, but also doesn't make me crazy. Also something that I can sustain for, you know, longer than 3 days. So anyways, the Keto Chow Core is just one of those things. It's not necessary. You don't have to buy it and you don't have to use it in order to do a reset. You can keep it as simple as you want as far as products, but it's something that will make it easier for me, and that is of high value to me. So super excited about those additions, and just loving that they release those just for me, just for my September reset. I really do appreciate that. Okay, so the Keto Chow core will be in my reset. Coffee, I'm not cutting out coffee. I'm going to keep coffee in. I will be cutting out cream. I have been using more cream lately. And so I am going to cut that out and just do the MCT oil powder, like I've already showed you guys, that I do really like. I mean, there's something special about cream, but I do enjoy the MCT oil powder. And so I'll be just switching to that for the month. Vegetables. I am going to add in vegetables. I kind of have an intuition about which ones give me digestive issue and like kind of how much I can eat, and they're not a trigger for me. So it's not like if I eat a little bit of broccoli, I'm triggered to, eat an entire pan of broccoli or to move on to other carby things or whatever. So I have vegetables on here, and I'll just kind of eat as much as I feel like. They don't stimulate my appetite. They're just enjoyable for me, and just add a little bit of variety that I don't feel like I need to cut out for the reset. I also put on here vegetable-like fruits. So, things like tomatoes. It's not something that I ever really do a lot of, but they're an option for me if I want to use a little bit of tomato for seasoning or, just added flavor or whatever. Then I have no sugar added seasonings. So not really reducing seasonings. I've never noticed seasonings giving me trouble at all. So gonna keep that in just to keep the variety as high as possible. Lemon juice, vinegars that, don't have sugar added, like no balsamic vinegar, of course, but any other vinegars, totally fine. I have on here stevia and allulose, and both of those, they don't give me any kind of trouble in and of themselves. I am, cutting out the keto treat type things, and so I'm not going to be using them for desserts, really. But sometimes, if I'm making a recipe, adding a little bit of allulose for sweetness in there just makes it better, like a barbecue sauce or stir fry sauce or something like that. So I have that on there, but not as a sweet treat thing, but just as a addition for recipes and things like that. I put on here zero sugar barbecue sauce. I have the Kinder's zero sugar barbecue sauce that I really like. And that's one of those buffer foods for me. Like, it's not adding nutrition really, pretty minimal. It's just something I enjoy. It makes the foods more enjoyable to me, so it's a buffer food for me. And then I have on here no sugar added pickles and pickled vegetables. Like that could be, it combined in the vegetable category, but I just put it on there because I kind of do want to focus on adding more of that, more fermented vegetables. So I just put that on the list. Last thing on the list is Element. I will continue to take my electrolytes. I will continue to use the stevia sweetened ones and the flavored ones. That kind of thing, it just has never given me issue as far as like stimulating appetite and stuff. Like I said, stevia and allulose in and of themselves don't seem to give me trouble. It's when I use, stevia or allulose to sweeten like, whipped cream or different desserts like that. That's where, it's a little bit more tricky, and that's the kind of thing I'm wanting to cut out, but I have never had any issue with the sweetness from Element, and I think the benefits of the Element far, far outweigh any kind of negatives that I would get, which like I said, I don't get any negatives. So Element, like the flavored Element, I would categorize the flavor and the sweetness part of it as a buffer food for me. And I talked about the buffer foods last week, where it's things you don't necessarily add to your diet for the nutrition. I'm talking about only the flavor and the sweetness. I'm not talking about the electrolytes themselves. Obviously, I add those to my diet for the nutrition from it and, how it affects my body. But you could just take the raw Element, but I choose the flavored Element because it is a buffer food for me. I can sip on my sweetened flavored Element and it makes me happy, and it makes it easier for me to stick to all of the other healthy foods that I'm prioritizing. So Element is categorized both as a buffer food and just as a nutrition supplement. So that is a pretty long list. Like, that's a lot of foods. I'm super happy. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm like, look at that and I'm like, oh yeah, that'll be great. That'll be easy, pretty reasonable. But the notable exclusions that's going to be difficult, because even though there are all of those delicious things in the list, there are going to be some exclusions that will be difficult to like overcome. And the most notable is the dairy. So I'm excluding cheese, no cheese, no cream or milk products. So cream in my coffee, that's going to be difficult. Although I do know that it takes for me about 2 or 3 days for me to kind of lose my, desire for dairy. I mean, not that it starts to taste bad or anything, or like I don't want it. I know it tastes good, but like the craving where I'm like, oh man, I could really go for a piece of cheese right now. Once I'm off it for like 2 or 3 days, my brain kind of forgets about it and I don't miss it. So that I just have to get through, that first couple of days. And then nuts, I am cutting out nuts, which I don't eat a ton of nuts. The main way that I get nuts in my diet is through keto products. And I don't eat a lot of those, but I don't cook with nuts. I don't just, grab a handful of nuts for a snack. Like, that's just not part of my regular diet. So cutting out the keto treats is really, for me, also cutting out basically all nuts in my diet. Same thing with peanuts. The main way I've been getting peanuts is bars and different things like that. And then like the peanut protein powder and the peanut MCT oil powder, but that's pretty minimal. But just cutting out those things, those are another one of those things. The nuts, you can live without them. Like, they don't provide these really, really important nutrients that you're not able to get from other places, and they can be problematic. So for a reset for me, I'm cutting them out. And then I already said keto treats. So any kind of like sweetened dessert, besides things like the Keto Chow core, besides, stuff with the Equip protein powder, like those I don't see like desserts really. It's like, that's like a full meal. They just happen to be sweet. So I'm talking about like anything that would be desserty. And then the last thing I put on here that, I wanted to explain a little bit is pork rinds. So I have never had an issue with pork rinds, like a lot of people do. A lot of people, that's like a trigger food, like the crunchy, the salty, it triggers, overeating. And I've never really had that be an issue for me. I mean, I like them, but it's pretty easy for me to stop. And even with the Pork King Good dessert pork rinds, like if I'm just eating a bowl of them, like I can stop pretty easily. They're tasty. They're real good, but it's not been a trigger for me. Like I talked about last week, triggers versus buffers. And so I've always seen the pork rinds as like a buffer food for me. Well, with the dessert pork rinds, I discovered that they are like cereal. And I almost don't want to tell you guys this because I don't want you to be tempted to try this, if it's possibly a trigger for you as well. But like I started crushing up the pork rinds and putting them in a bowl and putting, half and half or, some cream and mixed with some water on there and eating it like cereal. And let me tell you what. Those pork rinds went straight from a buffer food to a trigger food for me. And it was really eye-opening to notice about myself how I could eat a huge bowl of that and feel like I had not eaten anything. And it was like, it transported me right back to eating regular cereal. I don't know if you guys were like this, but I was like this, where you eat a bowl of cereal and you're like, I need another bowl of cereal. And you eat another bowl of cereal and then you're like, oh, there's a little bit of milk left. I'll just put a little bit more cereal. And you're eating like this huge amount. But by the time you're done, it doesn't feel like you ate anything. It's like if I ate that same amount of calories in eggs or steak, like I would be so full. But I sit there and eat it like cereal, those pork rinds like cereal, and it's like I didn't even eat anything. And it was a lot of calories. So that was really eye-opening for me. And so I just decided for my reset, no pork rinds. One last thing I wanted to touch on, and I know this video is already very long, but my yogurts. So one reason that I haven't gone dairy-free for quite a long time, even though I felt like I kind of needed to, is because of all of my homemade yogurts that I've been getting so much benefit from. The Elroy yogurt, as well as some other strains that have really, really helped my gut. And I just decided I need to cut that out too, just to be consistent and just to kind of see how I feel without the dairy for the month. But I am going to try to work on the coconut version of the at least the Elroy yogurt and maybe some of the other ones. I did a video of the coconut version and it didn't turn out great. It was more like a Jello dessert or something. It wasn't bad, like it tasted really good, but it just wasn't like yogurt. So I'm gonna try to play with that recipe some more and see if I can get a better coconut yogurt, because it doesn't have any sugar in it. It's just coconut milk and the cultures and then the inulin that the cultures eat. So that would be something perfectly acceptable for the month of September. And I do want to get more consistent and stay more consistent with having those yogurts, regularly in my diet. I feel like they really have helped a lot with my digestion. So I'm going to try to do that. I am going to attempt to do kind of a vlogging challenge in September. Since I am doing this whole month-long challenge, I'm just going to try to do vlogs regularly that include what I eat in a day. And, instead of trying to think of a topic for a video and like really have it focused, just grab the camera any day that I can and just film more of a vlog style with the foods that I'm eating on the challenge. Just going to try to do that. So hopefully you'll be seeing more videos from me. They won't be, there'll be a sprinkling of all different kinds of videos in the month. They're not going to be all vlogs, but hopefully you'll see more of that vlog, what I eat in a day style videos throughout the month of September. All right, this video is already very long. Thank you to everyone who made it all the way to the end. Let me know if you are doing any kind of challenge for September. I'd love to hear about it. Let's chat down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.